Hi, and welcome to lesson number 2 in module number 2 about e-business creation. In this lesson we will be talking about resources and why resources is important to have a clear thought about which resources you need in order to develop your products and your business. So, what resources do you need? That's basically or the primary question that you should need or that you actually need to answer. And when it comes to resources, what resources you need depends on if you want to create a product or if you want to develop a service. So depending on which one of these you want to create, you have different sets of resources. So let's take a look at the first one. If you decide to create a product, then you need different types of resources. You also need partnerships, which is one of the next lessons that we have in this module. But let's get down to the products. When you create a product, you need materials. And if you're creating products are often physical products, so then you need, if you're creating shoes, you need clothing, you need plastic, you need all of these different things to actually create the product. You need the raw materials. The same goes with if you want to create a smartphone, then you need aluminium, you need the hardware, and you also need software. But materials is one thing. You also need a location for your business headquarters. If you have a store, then you need a location. And so basically, as a product developer, or if you have a business that develops products, you should consider either selling them in your own store or in someone else's. But then you have to make partnerships. Where should you sell your products? And also partnerships when it comes to production. Where should you produce your products? Most product developing businesses outsource or they do the actual production in Asia. So then you need partnerships with factories and manufacturers in let's say China or other countries in Asia to actually produce your product. But this could be several manufacturers or several factories that you have to have partnerships with. So there's a lot of things that you need to have in order to develop your product. And not to mention you need a designer, or you need some type of design for your product. So there are a wide variety in what type of resources you need in order to create your product, and a physical product at that. But when it comes to services, you need a lot of resources as well. But since services is more knowledge based, it is all based more around knowledge and the competence of people. So when it comes to developing services, you need competent people. So that's one resource you need. And finding these competent people may show to be hard. It may be hard to find them, or you have to pay them more to make it interesting and appealing for those people and those individuals to work for you instead of someone else. Because good people can be found everywhere. It only depends on how much you pay them for if they want to work for you. And the work environment, of course. The next thing is a sort of platform to provide this specific service. It's a web-based service. Do you need a calling center for support? Do you need any type of communication platform to both deliver, communicate, and provide support for that specific service? So then you perhaps need a website designer and a web service designer. And the next one is the channels. What channels do you use to reach out to your customer or user? And the next one is assets. And what type of do you have there are several patents or trademarks that you need to protect. These are assets. And you also have branding. And your brand is a resource, and it is an important resource when it comes to service-based businesses, because branding and trademark and basically, but branding is everything. People know you by your brand because a brand is created from the service that you provide and the quality of that service. So as you can see, there are a wide variety in the resources you need, and the resources you need are are really different from service to product-based businesses. But these are not all. These are just a couple of examples for you to get your mind around what the different resources you need in order to create a service or product-based business. So why is resources important? There are different approaches to why resources is important and how you should use resources to plan out everything else. But resources is the groundwork that affects everything. The resources you have and the resources you acquire will have an effect on the different activities that the business perform, or you as a business perform, the customers that you will be appealing to, and the results that you create, but also the other way around. So everything in the model below affects each other, and resources is one of the elements. And there is two approaches to this. It's an inwards approach that starts with the results and go inwards, and you have an outwards approach, which is on the next slide. But by using the inwards approach, you start with the results. What results do I want for my business, and what results does the business want in the future? What's our vision? What's our long-term goal? And based on these goals and visions, you find certain customers that you want to appeal to and sell to. And in order to reach these customers, you perform certain activities. And to perform these activities, you need certain resources. And with the outwards approach, it goes the different way. So you have this set of resources, and depending on these set of resources, you can only perform these sets of activities. Let's say that you have a bicycle, then you can't fly. But if you have a plane or a helicopter, then you can fly. So depending on what resources you have available, you can perform activities that these resources allow. And based on the activities you perform, you appeal to certain customers. And by appealing to certain customers, these specific customers will produce certain results. So there are different approaches, and depending on if you choose to do the outwards or inwards approach, I have a couple of recommendations. If you're a new business, you want to go for the inwards approach. Since you're a new business, you don't have a lot of resources as of now, or most likely you don't have a lot of resources, and then it is easier to go from the outside and go inwards to figure out which resources do I need. So you start with results. I want these results. To reach these results, I find these customers, and in order to attract these customers, I need to do these activities, and in order to be able to perform these activities, I need these resources. But if you're an established business and have been doing business for a while and acquired a lot of resources, you can do the outwards approach. You have a set of resources, and these resources allow you to do different activities. And by doing these different activities, you will be interesting and appealing to different customers. And these customers will produce different or a certain result. So my say to you is, depending on if you're a new or an established business, choose the approach that you feel comfortable with. Do you have resources from before? Use the outwards approach. Do you not have a business from before? Think about using the inwards approach so that you can figure out what specific resources you actually need to perform the activities you need in order to appeal to the customer that you want and to achieve the result that you want. So why does the approach matter? It matters because it will help you to establish an execution plan, basically. By choosing the inwards approach as a small business, or if you're trying to establish a business, you will know what resources to acquire. In order, as I said, in order to do certain activities to appeal to a certain customer to achieve a specific result. And you also get an execution plan if you're an established business because you need resources from before and you know how to use these resources to get the result that you want. So that is why the different approaches is important. And you also get a better understanding on how to proceed forward. Because if you start out and just think about what product you need, what product you want to create, and just get going, you haven't analyzed what steps to take, and you don't actually have an execution plan. You just do things you feel is natural to do at a specific time. So by sitting down, analyzing to see what resources you need, you will have a better understanding on how to proceed as you establish an execution plan. And by doing this, you identify for yourself where to start and where to go. So let's say I'm establishing a new business, and I have evaluated and I see that, and I've identified that I need certain set of resources to perform the activities that I need. Then I know where to go. I know where to start. And that is by acquiring the resources that I need. If I'm an established business and I know that I have these resources, but in order to appeal to a certain customer, I need to perform these activities. And since I have these resources that allow me to perform these specific activities so that I appeal to the specific customer, so then I know where to start. I need to perform these specific activities. So that's the way to approach, or how to go forward with the different approaches, and why resources is so important. Resources is the most essential part in basically in the entire business, or one of the most important parts, because it's affecting everything. It's affecting the activities that you're allowed to do. It affects the customer that you appeal to, and it also affects the results that you achieve. What I want you to do now is, depending on if you're creating a service or product-based business, I want you to write down everything that you need. Every single resource that you need. And I also want you to map out the inwards or outwards approach, or you could do both, on how you can move forward, so that you know where to start and where to go. That's it for this lesson about resources. The next one will be about activities, and what activities you need to perform in order to create the product that you want, or reach out to the customer that you want. So first, before you go to the next lesson, I want you to write everything down so that you get a clear view over where to start and where to go. After you've done that, I want you to scroll down on this page and click the next lesson button so that you can move on to the next lesson about activities.